Hello everyone and welcome to Metagame Mastery. Rivals of Ixalan is fully spoiled and I know we're all getting ready for the pre-release coming up this weekend. So we're going to take a look at the remaining cards, talk about which ones make it into EDH and the possible standard implications they have, as well as going over very important comments for Limited. If you enjoy our content, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Now, there are a lot of slides today. A lot of cards were spoiled in that last batch, so I'm going to try and be quick, go through each and every one of them. Here is Charging Tuscadon. He is a 5-drop, 3 colorless, red, 4/4 dinosaur with trample. If Charging Tuscadon would deal damage to a player, it deals double that damage to that player instead. This guy's cool. This guy's beefy. He's got trample. He forces your opponent to chump block him. Otherwise, he gets really out of hand. In Commander, I think he's going to go great in Xenagos, God of Revels. Aggressive Urge, 2-drop, 1 colorless and a green instant. Target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Draw a card. It's fine. It's a efficient combat trick. If you really need removal in green, this will make a fine 23rd. Pride of Conquerors. 2 mana, 1 colorless, and a white instant with Ascend. If you haven't looked at the cards previously, Ascend is if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. If you have the City's Blessing, these creatures get +2/+2 until end of turn instead. It's a really good finisher. It's going to surprise a lot of people being only a 2 mana instant. So in Limited, this is going to be a beastie. Stormfleet Swashbuckler, 2 mana, 1 colorless, 1 red, 2/2 human pirate with Ascend. Stormfleet Swashbuckler has double strike as long as you have the City's Blessing. Bear with upside. One thing you're going to notice is in Limited, you always want to make sure that you've got your 2-drop spot filled on your mana curve. That's probably the most important drop in Limited. There's lots of bears with upside in this format, so keep an eye out for them. Crashing Tide, 2 colorless and a blue sorcery. Crashing Tide has flash as long as you control Merfolk. Return target creature card to its owner's hand, draw a card. So Merfolk get their own repulse. It's a very efficient tempo play, very good card in Limited. Curious Obsession, 1 blue, enchant aura. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and it has whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. At the beginning of your end step, if you didn't attack with a creature this turn, sacrifice Curious Obsession. This is so good. This is so good. I'm contemplating putting this in commander decks like Edric, Spy Master of Trest. It's solid. If you get it in Limited, typically you want to be careful about enchant creatures because they are so fragile. You don't want to be 2-for-1, but as you'll see as we continue clicking through this video, there's a lot of hexproof in this set, especially in blue, so this is a very important piece when you come across it. Everdawn Champion, 3 mana, 1 colorless, white, 2/2 human soldier. Prevent all combat damage would be dealt to Everdawn Champion. It's a great wall. I mean, it really hurts putting down a 2/2 for 3 mana, but it blocks for days. Also, way back when I was in high school, a friend of mine loved a janky combination of Pariah on a creature that prevented all damage that would be dealt to it. This is a possible other option to attach Pariah to in that janky combo. So that's cute. Hardy Veteran, 2 mana, 1 colorless, and a green 2/2 human warrior. As long as it's your turn, Hardy Veteran gets +2/+0. So we've got another bear with upside that you can attack in and survive most combats. That's pretty good. It's a premium 2-drop. Jilt Grove Stalker. 1 colorless and a green. 2/1 Merfolk Warrior. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. It's a fine 2-drop for Merfolk. Gruesome Fate. 3 mana, 2 colorless, and a black sorcery. Each opponent loses 1 life for each creature you control. This is going to be pretty potent in those zombie and vampire EDH decks because you get that exponential value. It's a good card. Fathom Fleet Border. 3 mana, 3/3. Orc Pirate. When Fathom Fleet Border enters the battlefield, you lose 2 life unless you control another pirate. Passes the vanilla test, and in black, that's pretty good. 3 mana, 3/3 with situational, no downside. Hunt the Week. Okay, so today's first reprint, it's pretty standard. You see this in a lot of, reprinted in a lot of sets. It costs 4 mana, 3 colorless, and a green. Sorcery, put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control. Then that creature fights target creature you don't control. So this is definitely not Savage Stomp. This is strictly worse. That said, green is usually hard up for removal and limited, so this will still see play in that environment. Imperial Ceradops. 5 mana, 4 colorless, and a white. 3/5 creature dinosaur with Enrage. Whenever Imperial Ceradops is dealt damage, you gain 2 life. So this is basically Ravenous Daggertooth with +3 toughness for 2 more mana. I still like this, especially for EDH, and the fact that you can trigger Pyrohemia more than once and get a lot of value off of this. So I do like the card. It is less efficient, but I think it'll hold up pretty well. I mean, I think it'll hold up pretty well. Kitesail Corsair. 2 mana, 1 colorless, and a blue. 2/1 human pirate. Kitesail Corsair has flying as long as it's attacking. So, Raid Enabler. Really good Raid Enabler. This thing's solid, just for chipping away at your opponent, putting them on a clock early on. Knight of the Stampede. 4 mana for a 3 colorless and a green for a 2/4 human knight. Dinosaur spells cost 2 colorless less to cast. So dinosaurs get their own Dragon Speaker Shaman. This is also pretty reminiscent to an Urza's Incubator. If you didn't get one of those before the prices spiked this year, this is a fine option for your dinosaur EDH decks. Other than that, I don't even think this is good enough to see much play unlimited. Reckless Rage. 1 red mana, instant. Reckless Rage deals 4 damage to target creature you don't control and 2 damage to target creature you control. So this thing's powerful. We're looking at an instant speed Flame Slash with quote-unquote downside. You have to shock one of your own creatures. But in the right deck, you could just trigger Enrage. And that's just even more value. There's so much going on with this card. It's really good. Now the downside is you have to have something in play. You have to have a creature on your side of the board, and your opponent has to have a creature on their side of the board. Otherwise, there aren't enough legal targets, and the whole effect fizzles. But when you pop this sucker off for 1 red mana, you're going to get so much value. It's worth it. Old Swarm Vampire. 2 mana, 1 colorless, and a black. 2/2 Vampire Knight. Enters the battlefield tapped. You may cast Old Sworn Vampire from your graveyard if you gain life this turn. Yeah, it's a good card. Really annoying for opponents. Blocks for days. It's a good card. It'll do work for you. Nothing too flashy though. Moment of Triumph. 1 white mana, instant, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. You gain 2 life. Now this is a premium combat trick in this set. 1 white mana, and you get to get a +2/+2 with upside. There was a very similar card in Ixalan, which had even more bonus for tribal synergy with vampires. It still saw play in anything that had white. Same will go for this. This is just solid. Mausoleum Harpy. 5 casting cost, 4 colorless, and a black for a 3/3 Harpy with flying, ascend. Whenever another creature you control dies, if you have the City's Blessing, put a +1/+1 counter on Mausoleum Harpy. This is an interesting contradiction because it wants you to have stuff in play to get City's Blessing, but then your stuff has to die for this to grow. That said, once you get City's Blessing, even if you get board wiped afterward, you keep City's Blessing the rest of the game. So this could be powerful in that regard. I think it's fine in limited. I don't foresee it making its way into any Aristocrats builds and other formats. Relentless Raptor. 2 mana for a red-white 3/3 dinosaur with vigilance. Relentless Raptor attacks or blocks each combat if able. Ooh, that's value. Ooh, this is a good card. If you're playing red-white at all, you're going to snatch every one of these up and you're going to feel good about it. That said, I could see this seeing play in Standard, in Mardu vehicles. This thing's sweet. I mean, its downside is that if your opponent gets a bigger creature on board and attacks with just it, the Relentless Raptor's kind of stuck. But you can get around that just by crewing a vehicle, and that's really sweet. I like this card a lot. Riverside Augur. 4 mana, 3 colorless, and a blue for a 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. Good keyword there. When he enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. Whoa! Brainstorm on a stick. I love this guy. Great exploitable effect that you can flicker in and out of play. I could see this going in my Brago deck, Rune. This guy's fantastic. And in Limited, this is the closest we're going to get to having a Brainstorm in Limited for the foreseeable future. This is a good card. See Red. 2 mana, 1 colorless, 1 red, enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets +2/+1 and has first strike. At the beginning of your end step, if you didn't attack with a creature this turn, sacrifice C red. So this will be amazing if you slap it on that Raptor on turn 3. What a play. That's powerful. Attacking him with your 5/3 vigilance first strike. And the creature can block for days. That's really, really good. Now, as for the if you didn't attack with this creature or attack with a creature this turn, very important distinction there, because you can continue attacking with chumps, bigger creatures, whatever the case may be. It doesn't have to be what this is attached to avoid its downside. Slippery Scoundrel. 3 mana for 2 colorless and a blue, 2/2 human pirate with Ascend. As long as you have the City's Blessing, Slippery Scoundrel has hexproof and can't be blocked. Oh my god. Invisible Stalker's back. Invisible Stalker's back. Yeah, you're going to have to jump through hoops, so it won't be as astoundingly good. But when you get this bad boy online, forget being a raid enabler, which is probably the design space in which they were going for with this. That's outstanding. There are so many auras and equipment in this set that you can draft and put onto this bad boy. That's a powerhouse card right there. You're going to draft that every chance you get in blue, without a doubt. I'm going to throw these in here just so that you know that they're going to be in the uncommon slot. They're the opposite color dual lands that enter the battlefield tapped. So I'm just going to mention them and move on. Strider Harness. It's a 3 colorless mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has haste. Equipped cost of 1. So this is a great target to put on your Invisible Stalker. It also will work really well to get put on your Relentless Raptors. It's a good card. It's a good value card that's gonna do work for you. Equip cost of 1 is very important in limited. Stampeding Horncrest. 5 mana, 4 colorless, and a red 4/4 dinosaur. Stampeding Horncrest has haste as long as you control another dinosaur. Hey, that's not charging Monstersaur. He's fine. He'll do work for you in limited. He's a good curve filler. That's about it. Squire's Devotion. 3 mana, 2 colorless and a white. Enchant Aura. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has lifelink. When it Squire's Devotion enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white vampire creature token with lifelink. So this one's a little bit interesting because typically your fear with auras in general is that you'll get 2 for 1. You put multiple cards on one target and then your opponent nixes it with a cheap removal spell. This is pretty expensive for just the immediate value of getting a 1/1 vampire creature token with lifelink. So if you don't get to attack in with this or block, then it's going to hurt pretty bad. And just for those reasons alone, I probably don't see this seeing any play, not even in limited. Orazga Relic. 3 colorless artifact with Ascend. You could tap it to add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, or you can tap it, sack it, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Activate this ability only if you have City's Blessing. So this sucks in limited, sucks in standard, sucks in modern. There's the outside chance that it'll see play in EDH because everybody loves mana rocks and Ascend is going to be so easily attainable. That said, paying +1 CMC to get a Mind Stone that you have to be able to hit City's Blessing before you can activate, just so that you can get 3 life, isn't really worth it. So that's, all that being said, it kind of just sucks. This card, on the other hand, sweet. Strength of the Pact, 6 total CMC, 4 colorless, green, sorcery. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Limited bomb. This is a finisher, if ever I've seen one. And it's sweet for EDH. I could see this going in a lot of +1/+1 counter builds. So this is a very, very good card. Plummet is being reprinted. We've all seen it before. It's a fine sideboard card in limited. 2 casting cost for 1 colorless and a green instant. Destroy target creature with flying. It's really not going to see any play outside of your sideboard in limited. Overgrown Armasaur. 5 CMC, 3 colorless, green for a 4/4 dinosaur with Enrage. Whenever Overgrown Armasaur is dealt damage, create a 1/1 green sapling creature token. This is a fine choice for limited. It'll do work for you every time it's engaged in combat. You'll get to go wide on your board, which is nice. There's a lot of value there. That said, this card's a big disappointment for me just for the fact that with Pyrohemia or really any of the mass enrage enablers, you wind up losing your sapling tokens. So that kind of doesn't feel good. Jade Bearer. 1 green mana for a 1/1 Merfolk Shaman. Whenever Jade Bearer enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on another target Merfolk you control. So this was almost a good card, but the fact that you have to put it on another Merfolk you control means either you're getting a 1/1 for 1, or you have to play it off curve, and that's rough. That's rough. I'm sure it's a fine pickup for Merfolk and Limited, but beyond that, I don't foresee this seeing any play. Jadecraft Artisan. 4 CMC, 3 colorless, and a green. 3/3 Merfolk Shaman. When Jadecraft Artisan enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So, for constructed play, the 4 spot with Merfolk is very crowded. This guy isn't going to make the cut. That said, in limited, we're just going to dial this back, look at drafts, pre-release, sealed, those type of environments. You're getting a 4-drop with relevant keywords, 3/3, that has an immediate impact as soon as it hits the board. That's not terrible. It definitely passes the vanilla test. This is a fine curve filler, and it doesn't even require that it targets another Merfolk. So this is a good card. Jungleborn Pioneer. 3-drop, 2 colorless, and a green, 2/2 Merfolk Scout. When Jungleborn Pioneer enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 blue Merfolk creature token with hexproof. So just on the surface, you're getting 3 power and toughness for 3 mana. Passes a vanilla test. It's across 2 bodies. Gets you closer to Ascending and City's Blessing. Now, mind you, the 3 spot is very crowded for Merfolk as well, but if you just drop that Merfolk Lord on turn 2, this is really good. You'll get a 3/3 and a 2/2 for 3 mana. That's solid. Look for this to see a lot of play in Limited. Razga Frillback. 3-drop, 2 colorless, and a green, 4/2 dinosaur. I hate 4/2 creatures at 3. They just don't do enough, in my opinion. They become defensive because if you attack with them, you trade down. And so it winds up sitting back, acting as a rattlesnake until eventually someone decides to pop it off. And you wind up losing it to some stupid bear with upside anyways. Crested Herdcaller is a 5 casting cost, 3 colorless, green, 3/3 dinosaur with trample. When Crested Herdcaller enters the battlefield, create a 3/3 green dinosaur creature with token with trample. Okay, so I'm just going to put this out there. Regisaur Beta. That said, this card is your standard poor man's Thragtusk. He passes the vanilla test. You're getting a 6 power and toughness with upside on the board for 5 mana. That's good. So he'll still see play, especially in Limited. Maybe some super budget builds in EDH. Beyond that, he just doesn't do enough. Colossal Dreadmaw is back. 1 set later. This time he doesn't get to be just the common version of a better mythic. We know what this card does. We saw him in Ixalan. He's just going to be a fine finisher for you at the common slot. He's 4 colorless, green, 6/6 dinosaur with trample. It's a fine body. Passes the vanilla test. Cacophododon. That's a mouthful. He's a 4 he's a 4 casting cost, 3 colorless and a green for a 2/5 dinosaur with enrage. Whenever Cacophonodon is dealt damage, untap target permanent. So this is fine for limited purposes, but what I really love this card for is the whole enrage deck in EDH. This guy makes it so that you can basically do Pyrohemia for free every single turn up to 4 times. If you make him indestructible, you could do Pyrohemia infinitely. That's amazing. I love this card for EDH. It's such a combo piece, such an enabler for the Enrage deck. I love it. Tillinolli's Crown. It's 2 casting cost for a 1 colorless, 1 red enchant aura. When Tillinolli's Crown enters the battlefield, it does 1 damage to enchanted creature. Enchanted creature gets +3/+0 and has trample. So this thing's going to be sweet on your Raptor, or it's a great enrage enabler. You're getting a lot of value, +3/+0 and trample that sticks. Typically, I want to be very careful about playing auras in limited, but I like this card a lot. There's a lot of value here. Next up, we have Needletooth Raptor. 4 casting cost, 3 colorless and a red, 2/2 dinosaur with enrage. Whenever Needletooth Raptor is dealt damage, it deals 5 damage to target creature an opponent controls. Kind of a funny rattlesnake effect for limited, but I especially like this in that enrage deck in EDH. It's yet another enabler that turns the value of being able to ping your own creatures repeatedly into targeted removal for all your opponent's stuff. I like it. Orazga Raptor. 4 casting cost total. For 2 colorless and a red, you get a 3/4 creature dinosaur. Kind of reminds me of Grazing Whiptail from the last set, only no reach. That said, it's fine curve filler. Here we have Shake the Foundations. 3 casting cost, 2 colorless and a red instant. Shake the Foundations deals 1 damage to each creature without flying. Draw a card. So this is sweet because it wipes out your opponent's 1 toughness creatures. Or you can play this after combat, and anything that barely survived combat, you could finish off. And it replaces itself. And most importantly of all, you get to trigger all your enrage triggers off of 1 card. There's a ton of value here. Is it situational? Sure. Is it worth playing? Yes, absolutely. Very good card. And Shatter, once the most reprinted card in all of Magic the Gathering, is adding to its already impressive record here, being reprinted once again in Rivals of Ixalan. In case you're not familiar with it, it's 2 casting cost, 1 colorless and a red instant, destroy target artifact. The only reason I bring this up is because there's even more hate for artifacts in Standard. Will this see anything more than sideboard play? No. But if they needed any additional artifact hate to murder your vehicles, just like it's being, there's a ship being blown up in the picture, yeah. This is really, between this and Naturalized being reprinted in this set, Mardu Vehicles is going to be hurting in Standard. Goblin Trailblazer. 2 CMC, 1 colorless, and a red 2/1 Goblin Pirate with Menace. This is a fine aggro choice. You get a 2/1 with evasion. You know, the 2-drop spot is the most important spot to fill in limited. So it'll do work for you. And here we have Brazen Freebooter. 4 CMC, 3 colorless and a red, 3/3 human pirate. When she enters the battlefield, create a colorless treasure artifact token with sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So this is fine. If you're really looking to hit Ascend, It's 2 permanents for 1 card. It's a 3/3 for 4. Not the worst value in limited, but nothing stellar here. Bombard. 3 casting cost, 2 colorless and a red instant. Deals 4 damage to target creature. So we're paying 2 more colorless mana for an instant version of Flame Slash. Considering Unfriendly Fire was almost universally used in Ixalan and it cost 5 mana. Mind you, that did have the ability to target a player. Still, it was mostly added into limited as a removal spell. This will see play. This is definitely a high draft pick. Voracious Vampire is a 3 CMC, 2 colorless and a black, 2/2 Vampire Knight with Menace. When he enters the battlefield, target vampire you control gets +1/+1 and gains Menace until end of turn. So playing a 2/2 for 3 mana, that hurts. Even with Menace, I don't see this guy seeing a whole lot of play, even in vampire builds, but if you need a curve filler, he seems fine. Reaver Ambush is a 3 CMC for 2 colorless and a black instant. Exile target creature with power 3 or less. So this is strictly an upside for people who played Vanquish the Weak and Ixalan. This is really good in limited because not only are you killing it off, but that killing is going to stick. It doesn't even get when it dies effects. So that's really solid choice for limited. Also, the flavor text and picture is pretty disturbing. Next up, we've got Recover. It's 3 CMC, 2 colorless and a black sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Draw a card. This is just too weak to see play, in my opinion, in any format. Sadistic Sky Marcher. He's a 3 CMC, 2 colorless and a black, 2/2 vampire soldier. As an additional cost to cast Sadistic Sky Marcher, reveal a vampire card from your hand or pay 1 mana. He has flying and lifelink. So I'm gonna go ahead and dub this guy Vampire Knothawk because he is weak sauce. 3 CMC, doesn't have Death Touch, and he can be targeted with shock, and if you're not in a specific vampire tribal build, he costs 4. Yeah, this guy sucks. Vampire Revenant, 4 CMC, 3 colorless and a black, 3/1 vampire spirit with flying. So if you're looking to get aggressive with the vampires, even then this thing sucks. Impale, 4 CMC, 2 colorless, black, sorcery, destroy target creature. So this is a weaker murder. Still, it's unconditional removal in limited. It's going to see play there. Grasping Scoundrel. 1 black mana for a 1/1 human pirate. Grasping Scoundrel gets +1/+0 as long as it's attacking. Black finally got its own Savannah Lions. It's a good aggressive creature for those Rakdos builds. So in that, it'll see play. Definitely good in limited. Dark Inquiry. 3 CMC, 2 colorless and a black sorcery. Target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card. So we see these every block or so. It's more expensive duress that can target creatures. That said, by this point, it's a 3 mana. You're not getting a creature on the board just so that you can nix 1 card out of your opponent's hand. That tends to be pretty weak. I don't foresee this seeing any play. Canal Monitor. 5 CMC, 4 colorless and a black, 5/3 creature lizard. vanilla. No actual abilities, but I love his flavor text. The first goblin tried to swim the canal, the second built a raft. The last and craftiest goblin launched herself from a fire cannon and soared over the canal, trailing smoke. All were eaten, but only one was cooked. Classy. How is this guy not a dinosaur? Soul of the Rapids. 5 CMC, 3 colorless, blue, 3/2, creature elemental with flying and hexproof. So this is solid. It's kind of squishy, but at the same time, it's evasive. It's dealing 3 damage in the air every single turn, and it has hexproof so that it can't be spot removed. This makes a great target for your equipment, your auras. There's lots of value auras in this set, and slapping them on this bad boy is pretty okay. I like this card a lot, especially in limited. Spire Winder, 4 CMC, 3 colorless and a blue for a 2/3 flying with Ascend. Spire Winder gets +1/+1 as long as you have City's Blessing. Yeah, it's fine for limited. I mean, yeah, you're paying 4 for a 2/3 flyer, but when you do have City's Blessing, you're getting a 3/4 flyer with flying. For 4 mana, that's pretty solid. I like that a lot. I imagine this will see play in limited. Sworn Guardian. 2 CMC for 1 colorless, 1 blue, 1/3 Merfolk Warrior, and no abilities. So this is about the most uninspired Merfolk card in the entire set. Waterknot. 3 CMC, 1 colorless, blue, enchant aura. When it enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its untap step. Oh, hi, Claustrophobia. Siren Reaver. 4 CMC, 3 colorless and a blue, 3/2 Siren Pirate. Raid. Siren Reaver costs 1 less to cast if you attacked with a creature this turn, and has flying. This is good in limited. The fact that in pirate decks that are going to be very aggressive with their attacks as it is, you're paying 3 mana for a 3/2 flyer. That's really good in limited. This is going to be a high draft pick. Sailor Means is getting reprinted in the very next set. For those who didn't play a lot of Ixalan, he's a 3 CMC, 2 colorless and a blue, 1/4 human pirate. When he enters the battlefield, create a colorless creature artifact, not a creature, treasure artifact token with sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So obviously they added him for City's Blessing purposes. You're getting 2 permanents off of 1 card. Mistcloaked Herald. 1 blue for a 1/1 Merfolk Warrior. Mistcloaked Herald can't be blocked. Good card. Good card. This could see play in the standard version of Merfolk Tribal. This is going right into every Edric Spymaster of Trest deck. I like it. I like it a lot. Sun Sentinel. 2 mana for a 1 colorless and a white for a 2/2 human soldier with vigilance. Bears with upside. Always good to have premium 2 drops in limited. Majestic Heliodrus. I'm not familiar with that type of dinosaur. It's a 4 CMC, 3 colorless, and a white 2/2 dinosaur, obviously, with flying. When Majestic, this guy attacks, another target dinosaur you control gains flying until end of turn. So that's kind of neat. It's a jump effect that you get to repeat regularly. I mean, paying 4 mana for a 2/2 flyer, that burns a little bit. I mean, it's still going to hasten your opponent's clock. But what I like about this is if you are in a dinosaur deck and you're going to be dropping some big fat dinosaurs every single turn, this gives them evasion to really just force through damage. So in the dinosaur build in limited, I see this getting play. Martyr of Dusk, 2 mana, 1 colorless and a white for a 2/1 vampire soldier. When he dies, create a 1/1 vampire creature token with lifelink. That's great value. That's really good value. I like this card a lot. Raptor Companion is also seeing a reprint. Exact same card from Ixalan. 2 mana for 1 colorless and a white for a 3/1 creature dinosaur. It's fine. It'll do work for you when you need additional 2-drops in limited. Snubhorn Sentry, 1 white mana for a 0/3 dinosaur with Ascend. Snubhorn Sentry gets +3/+0 as long as you have City's Blessing. When you can get this guy to go off, he's amazing value. But the fact that you drop him turn 1 and he does nothing for however many turns until you can reach City's Blessing just really kills this card for me. Luminous Bonds, 3 CMC, 2 colorless, and a white enchant aura. Enchanted creature can't attack or block. So +1 casting cost, pacifism. That said, there was a 4 CMC pacifism that saw a ton of play in the last set. So this is going to be a very high draft pick. Legion Conquistador is getting a reprint. It was just in Ixalan. He's 3 CMC, 2 colorless, and a white 2/2 vampire soldier. When he enters the battlefield, you may search your library for any number of cards named Legion Conquistador, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your library. Didn't see a lot of play in Ixalan. I don't imagine he's going to see a lot of play now. Exultant Sky Marcher. 3 CMC, 1 colorless, white, for a 2/3 vampire soldier with flying. So we've been getting a lot better knockoffs of Vampire Nighthawk in previous sets. This is probably the weakest one we've seen yet. In limited, it'll do fine for you. In every other format, this is just too weak to be considered for any gameplay. Divine Verdict. 4 CMC, 3 colorless, and a white instant. Destroy target attacking or blocking creature. This is a classic. You see this in limited all the time. People throw this in as just general removal, and it's good. If you need additional removal in your pre-release or in drafts, pick this thing up. It'll do work for you. Sanguine Glorifier is a 4 CMC, 3 colorless, and a white vampire cleric that has a 3/3 body. When Sanguine Glorifier enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on another target vampire you control. This one I like because you're getting a 4/4 for 4 with relevant keywords, and you can go in a pinch, or when you have the opportunity, I should say. You know, if you've got a better vampire out there that needs to force its way through to deal some damage, or has another upside like lifelink, you can go ahead and throw that +1/+1 counter on that creature instead. So you're getting a lot of value here. Blazing Hope. 1 white mana, instant, exile target creature with power greater than or equal to your life total. So this is here just to kill those elder dinosaurs, mostly. Other than that, it's a very efficient panic button, but unfortunately, it usually comes too late to save you. So it's not going to see a whole lot of play in that regard. Still, it's a neat card that they printed, if nothing else, than to kill those OP elder dinosaurs in limited. Cleansing Ray. 2 CMC, one colorless and a white sorcery. Choose one, destroy target vampire or destroy target enchantment. This is going to be a very fun sideboard card in Limited. And Traveler's Amulet. We've got one colorless for an artifact, pay one, sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. So this is fine color fixing for your limited decks. It'll do its job. And that's it. I hope everyone has fun at their pre-release. If you've been watching our videos, you've had the opportunity to study up on the cards. So I expect you'll do well. And if you enjoy our content, please remember to like, share, and subscribe.